Yo, E-Dirt. So, Matt Hollywood-Smith here, bringing you all the latest and greatest happenings from the wide world of off-road racing. And in particular, this weekend, the opening round of the National Championship Off-Roads, now known as the SACCS Moto Tour. It was Lichtenberg, it was a wild, hot day, but we sent our roving reporter, Matt Smith, down to tell you what happened down there. Over to you, Matt. So, opening round of the SACCS Motos, that's the new branding name for the National Championship Series. All happening behind me right now, everyone is in pack-up zone. It has been an absolutely gnarly start to the championship season. Super hard, very, very tough conditions for all the motorbike guys to deal with, the quad guys as well. Tons of punches, a lot of bike breakages, and unfortunately, quite a lot of injuries coming out of especially the two-wheel contingent. First man to fall, Kenny Gilbert, 30 Ks in, took a huge dive on the Husky, and he looks like he's either collarbone himself or ligaments on the collarbone. Not too much longer after that, Lo Schmidt, similar kind of situation for him. And yeah, just a wild one. I spoke to a lot of the key players running around out there, and they just said, very well marked, but very, very tough as far as the conditions go. This area just doesn't help things out. They don't have a lot of land to work with, and basically the whole terrain was just rocks. And most people saying they had a near-death experience around about 500 times a lap. So very, very tough for the guys to actually bounce back from this. But hopefully Dundee is going to be a little bit smoother, a little bit easier for the guys to handle. But it was real cool to see this many numbers. I'm doing all these panning shots over my shoulder, by the way, because it just shows you the scene setter. For the first time, the whole tour for 2017 is going to be cars, bikes, and quads, and side-by-sides as well. So it makes things nice and fun. On the side-by-side things, I think we had a pull-in of around about 5 or 6 guys. They went out in the morning and actually cleared the track. So it was also the first time we've ever done the time trial first thing in the morning. It was like 6 o'clock. It was stupid o'clock, like I said on some of my earlier posts. And then everyone went out, did their 20K time trial. 14 minutes a lap. I think the fastest lap came out of Ross Branch, and he was pole man. That helped him out on the day as well, because when it came time to go racing, he had clear air and he was able to run and hide, left everyone else in his dust literally, and everyone else kind of tripping over each other in the dust to try and figure out the track and get on the pace of Ross. Ross himself, reigning champion. Yeah, he's a bush kid. He likes the dust, he likes the sand. Not a super comfortable guy on the rocks, and he said even going onto lap number 2 he was scared of this track that they laid out, but he got away with it and he got the job done. Lo Schmidt, yeah, bad scene for that kid, reigning OR2 champ, and he unfortunately moving up into the 450s, which he was super pumped about. He unfortunately took an early bath as well, so he loses a chunk of championship points as well. Swanee moved up to the OR2s this year, and he's on the 350 Husky. He walked away with a big swinger there and run high numbers in the overalls as well. So Pepsi Plastics Factory Husqvarna are going to be happy with him as well. He was very cheesed to not be able to nail down that 250 championship that he wanted from last year. But yeah, we move on. We're big boys. We wipe the tears from our eyes, and he is now going to be a big threat in the OR2 championship. The rest of the categories, very scrappy, to be honest. Looked like Jared Kutsia and Flanny were in the big wall the whole way through the day, and as I post this video right now, I don't know how those times stand because it was very, very close to the bone. We'll wait for that, and when I get back to the studio, I'll be able to tell you guys what the numbers look like on the page. But very, very tough conditions, to the point where the time bar was extended for lap number 1, and even with that, a couple of key players weren't able to make it out onto the second loop. Looking at the quads side of things was wild. Obviously, Hannes Simon on the Q1s, he's a reigning champion, and he was looking to back up his championship with the number 1 plate. Unfortunately, he had some major issues on the bike. I think he maybe just got a little bit too aggressive as he went out there into the rocky terrain and had a lot of busteds and breakages. The tall guy, old Johan Oosthuizen out of Middelburg, he had a really good run. He had a puncher for something like 100 Ks, but Russman said when he came up on him, he wasn't slowed down that much. So it just shows you that you can run these numbers if you've got the right setup on your quad and on the tires, the equipment that you're running. Keenan Hammond and Gideon Jacobs, old Captain CrossFit, who's looking pretty skinny nowadays. He's definitely looking like a polished racer. Coming out of time trial, Gideon was the fastest man out there, chased down by Keenan. Russ was pretty much up there as well, but second fastest was Johan Oosthuizen. Come race time though, we have a new man at the top of the pile. So going into round number 2,
in the Q1 category, Russ Manfrera. In fact, sorry, Q2s, because of course he rolls out on the big Yamaha for these events. So in the Q2s, Russ Manfrera looking very, very tasty, and takes his first national championship round win. So well done, Russ Man. A huge supporter of Hollywood Hills, and we love to see our buddies do well out there, as well as everyone else. But nice to see Russ finally get that duck off his back, get the monkey off his back, break his duck, should I say, and get the job done. So very, very cool. Johan Oosthuizen eventually getting the number 2 spot. And unfortunately for Keenan Hammond and Gideon Jacobs, they just suffered too many mechanicals. Same fate as Hannes Simon. So round number 2 and the rest of the season is going to have to answer all the rest of our questions as we move forward with the rest of the season. But I'm going to sign off before I say it is an incredible way to start the year. A very, very hard track. It's going to be tough for a lot of riders to bounce back from the tough terrain that Lichtenberg delivered. But there was a good vibe and everyone pushed hard. Lots of new sponsors. We welcomed Lawrence Mahoney back. We didn't see how he finished, but it looked like he was able to get himself up there, certainly within the top 3 in his chosen category, which is the OR2s. But it's going to be an amazing story as we unfold and roll. What is it, like a month and a half down the road to Dundee? Right now, I'm going to sign off from day number 1 here at Lichtenberg. The cars are just about to finish their time trials, and I'm going to stay on point as I work with the car guys tomorrow as they go out and do their big, what is it, like 400 Ks out in the terrain. But Lichtenberg delivered, Hollywood Hills was on site, and man, there was a lot of drama down here at the opening round of the SACCS Motos. I'll sign off with that, and I'll throw back to Matt in studio.
Thanks for that, Matt. So yeah, lots to talk about, and yeah, to be fair, quite a scrappy race, and everyone was happy to just get in their cars and roll away from that one. But it's kind of always like that with a season opener, and especially when there's a new change in regime and a new change in racing format. A couple of guys that we need to confirm coming out of that. Matt down there, he was talking to you about Flanny. Well, Flanny did walk away with it. What a bubble this guy is on right now. He's absolutely pinned. The previous week took his first National Enduro win. This weekend takes his first national off-road win. So Flanny is on a flyer right now, and proudly Bidvest Yamaha will be happy that they signed that ink at the end of last season. Very cool. Also a couple of categories that Matt didn't talk about down there. Funny when I do that, isn't it? The seniors, huge deal. Old Brucey Fulyoun, a good shiner of mine, and the man that stepped up from the 300s onto the 450 this year because he said he needed more horsepower. Well, it worked out for him. He won the time trial, and he got a solid close second behind Factory Pro on the KTM, Bolly Van Rooyen, in the senior category. So Bruce and Bolly, great to see you guys running the numbers in the top 2. On the master side of things as well, Insane Wayne Farmer was down there, but unfortunately it did look like it was going to be a bit of a madman track, and Wayne has that facility within himself to hold back and play the long game when he has to. Still plummeting for the 300 smoker, but it was Peter Hull that went out and threw caution to the wind and got the big win. That's going to change up as the season goes on. We know that last year it was a big war between the 4-stroke and the 2-stroke of Farmer and Hull, and of course down at Dundee, maybe a little bit more technical, but that kind of loamy soil is definitely all the way up Wayne Farmer's street. On the high school side of things, reigning champion Stefan van Deventer getting picked up on the big factory squad, now riding out of proudly Bidvest Yamaha. He kept his slate clean, and he backs up his championship with a round number 1 win. So lots of stuff to talk about. The 125s was a little bit messy, and there's a few things up in the air right now. I'm not going to cover that as we move forward into the rest of the season. Notable mention on the ladies' quad side of things as well. Megan Stander, the only lady entry and the only lady to finish the full race at Lichtenberg. There's a coffee on me next time I see you, Megs, because that was, by all accounts, an absolutely insane track out there. So yeah, lots of stuff to talk about and lots of stuff to review as we move forward into the rest of the racing year. It's around about maybe a month and a half, month and a quarter before we go down to Dundee. I'm expecting to see a very well laid out track. Hopefully they get one of our national competitors to become a consultant and get down there and maybe do a pre-run of the track. That's what we're all hoping for. Very much the format of this year for the SACCs is the bikes essentially racing a car track. That's fine in with itself, but as we know, the markings for cars are very different to the markings for bikes. And I think the event organizers will have taken a lot away from this weekend, and it will move forward positively. To all the riders that did get injured, we'll catch up with those guys and find out what the story is. We did get a confirmation that unfortunately it is a full break on Lowe Schmidt's collarbone, so he's going to get that plated. Within reason, we should see him up to race pace in around about 2, maybe 3 weeks, possibly missing out in the next round of the GXCCs. But Kenny Gilbert also will try and get some feedback. It did sound like it was just the cartilage and ligaments. I know just cartilage and ligaments. It's still injuries, but thankfully not a broken bone. While I'm talking about that, the GXCCs have just dusted themselves off and announced their next round. So that's in a couple of weeks' time, and that is going to be the classic race venue of Falkville. So we have been traveling far and wide. We opened up our account with Bronco Sprates, then we went all the way up to Limpopo for settlers. Now we stay a little bit local. From my place here in Randburg, it's around about an hour 10 down the road to Falkville, so it's going to be a nice classic race venue, and I'm desperately going to try to get out there and do a pre-run. I know Russman Ferreira wanted me to get out there and do a lap on a quad. We're going to try and make that happen. Also, of course, next weekend is going to be the next round of Gary Frank's EWXC series. He goes back to Serendipity for that. We'll get some pictures in from Fricky Stroh in Action in Motion and be able to report back from that event and tell you what's gone on. And also, we will be going up to Basefit and catching up with Ludovic Janssen van Vuren to talk about all things healthy and trying to get me to pick up some heavy things and get rid of this 40-year-old belly that's all of a sudden appeared this year. We're going to try and sort that out as well. For the Junior National Championships, this is the month where it all kicks off. So we were talking about building up into the racing month of April. Of course, that means Easter weekend, and there are still some seats available. So if you've got the kids out there, if you've got a gap and you're not quite sure what to do on the Easter weekend, go onto the T-Bone Racing website. We will once again be running the advert at the end of the show, and we'll be getting ourselves locked and loaded and heading down there. It's a double header, so if you want to be running in the championship, definitely try and make your way down there racing on Saturday and on the Sunday. So what else is coming up in the racing month of April? So we've already covered next weekend is going to be EWXCs. The weekend after that, double header for the juniors. Weekend after that will be the next round of the GXCC series. Then I've got an open weekend to round out a mad month in April of a million public holidays. So it's going to be nice to spend some time at home once again before we start talking about the racing month of May and then building up to a lot of big bangers. Of course, I'm talking about the Impy running now in the middle of the season. Very exciting. I'm on board with that crew. We're helping with the promotions. And of course, then we'll also talk about going down to the Western Cape for the next round of the Liquorland National Enduro Championship. For now, Hollywood Hills signing off here. We'll wait for Matt to get back from the pits and wash himself off because, man, that was a hot, dusty weekend down in Lichtenberg. We'll catch you guys next week to talk about the EWXC and Basefit.